for me then is also what Team Fusion shows up today. Which version of the team? The fun stat I like to say for Fusion is that they are undefeated in the Challenger Series on air. They're the only team to beat Enemy Esports. They did it on a Wednesday broadcast.
Off air? Not so much.
Yeah, off air they're 1-4. They've lost to every single team except for CLG Black, who was the last place team off air. So the question is, it's Tuesday, but it's on air. Which curse is going to be broken here? Fusion has to pick one.
Well, they won on a Tuesday one time, though.
Right.
So I don't know if it's so much a curse as it is something that's against them. But the live broadcast one, I want to stick with that one.
All right, live broadcast one it is. Anyway, Team Fusion, though, I'm surprised they're allowed to play that, but they already get Sejuani for Nintendo X. We are, by the way, on patch 5.6. Bard and Victor are disabled due to bugs of the champions. Bard's been fixed on live, I believe, just not on the tournament realm here. And this is, of course, as well, the first day of games on 5.6. The European Challenger Series played earlier in the morning. Spoiler alert. Lowland Lions 1-2-0, largely with some very good play, and we got to see now what these guys do in the patch.
Yeah, and a Fiora top.
That's true. Fiora top was great.
That was a really impressive Fiora top from Morsu. But in NA here, the thing for me is, oh my god, okay. Man, all right, we'll go through things very quickly. The bans that came out, all 3 bans from TDK are at Chunky Fresh in the top. Yeah. All 3 of them. So they're trying to give Seraph the best matchup possible. And TDK also selected Red Side all 3 matches for last pick. And I assume it's for Seraph to have a good matchup in the top lane to know what he's up against. Well, right here, though, if you're TDK, you got to pick your top laner here because you already know you're going to be facing up against a Rumble. I am a little bit sad to see the TDK banned Aurelia away. I get it. Again, it's a ban away from Chunky Fresh, but it's one of Seraph's best champions as well. And Fusion is kind of putting together a team fight comp right here. It's fun to see the Urgot come in. Of course, we've only seen a couple of Challenger games since those Urgot buffs, and these guys clearly care about it. But Sejuani Rumble is just such a scary team fight presence. Yeah, the fact that those ultimates layered over each other can just win you a mid-game team fight, even if you're behind, because Rumble does not need a lot of gold to be effective. Nope. Just 2 items, including the boots, and you're fine. That's true. And even still, though, if you do get ahead on Rumble, as we saw in the TIP versus CLG game 2 days ago, you can just straight win your lane if you're ahead. Yeah, you just melt people with Flame Spitter. It's really easy. TDK, though, they want that matchup to be Mundo. Pretty melt-proof, I would say. And then the Ezreal actually makes for an interesting flex pick because that could go for Louis GG or it could go for Kyle in mid. Yeah, they're coming out with these picks very, very quickly. You can see the teamfight presence on Team Fusion that's already been drafted. Then TDK, they got ways to start fights. We have the Rumble in the top lane up against the Mundo from Seraph. Now, Mundo for Seraph, he became an unkillable beast the last 2 times we saw him on this champion. They also go ahead. Yeah, they also played it with poke comps. Exactly. Nidalee's still up, and they didn't go for the Nidalee. They went for the Rek'Sai instead early on. Well, she's still got long-range AP skills. You know, shoot her from underground. I mean, and Ezreal's mid is there, so they're like that was nerfed. That is no longer a viable build. I'm not saying you're supposed to build it. At least he has a poke skill. Luden's Echo. Prey Seeker. Have you done it? No, I haven't. I hope you never do. I'm relying on you to play well in games with me, by the way, so don't screw this one up. Team Fusion, though, last few seconds, they pick a hyper carry. It will be Jinx, not Kog'Maw there, which means it is Urgot mid after all. TDK have to now pick, all right, is it Ezreal versus Jinx, or is it Ezreal versus Urgot, and then who's going to go into the lane? Ezreal versus Urgot? I would not want to be Ezreal versus Urgot, by the way. I guess you could farm from Q outside of the E range. Okay, so it is kind of another poke comp here. Kyle loves Jace. Xerath has about the same type of pattern in a team fight, except for the all-in. Just the fact that he's poking and causing that pressure. Now, Fusion, they don't have a whole lot of burst damage. They're very sustained damage. And against this Mundo, if Seraph gets to the point that he was in the previous games, it's going to be kind of hard to take him down. Yeah, I'm looking at sustained damage. I mean, Jinx, as long as she keeps up, and Nian is known for a player that's always going to get his farm, I think you can stay kind of on curve, and especially if Fusion do lane swap, he can stay ahead of the curve against Seraph, and it'll make life difficult. You've also got, you know, Armor Shred coming out from Huhi. You get a Black Cleaver later on as part of his core build. I actually do think Urgot Jinx allows you to crush tanks pretty reasonably. Leandry is a common item on Rumble. Sejuani is going to be able to build you enough time. I actually do like how that comp's going to work against Seraph. I like both comps, honestly. Yeah. I feel like the Fusion comp is very Wombo combo-y. Jinx, Sejuani, you have your ways to start the fight. Leona too. Rumble, Leona, right? Like these are great. This is a great draft for them. And then Huhi just picking the Urgot. That was a blind pick Urgot. It was. That's how much confidence he had in the fact that Urgot can win this matchup regardless of what it is. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. TDK, their defensive tools pretty much rely on running the heck away and hoping Annie Tibbers, or at least her stun passive, buys you enough time. I think it will be
difficult for TDK to disengage, but as long as they can keep the rest of Fusion at arm's length, it will work out. But that's the big test here. Now, guys at home, we want to know who you think is going to win the first playoff match this spring. Tweet at LOL Esports with either hashtag FSN win or hashtag TDK win, and we'll check in with your votes in just a few minutes. Hard engaged team, a lot of AoE, a lot of Wombo, and there's a strong team fight team for Fusion. Very obviously a poke comp for TDK, but I say few disengaged tools.
Yeah. Kyle's going to need to position very well for these team fights. The fact they have so much hard engage does not bode well for a Xerath.
It doesn't.
You want to be in that backline. It's one of the reasons that we don't see so much poke on 5-5, 5-6.
Yeah.
Tank meta has allowed these hard engage champions to get to the backline very, very quickly. And if he's mispositioned for a second, who he can swap him into the fight.
That's true. It is interesting to see, like, I do want to, like, by the way, I will preface that I say I agree with you, but
it's a very rare situation that will happen.
Well, I'm more saying that, like, not about the Urgot, but about the jungle champion pool. Like, Nidalee notwithstanding and Rek'Sai notwithstanding, like, Vi and Jarvan are still, like, these backline reaching bruisers. Like, they still have the ability to get there and be like, hey, I'm going to lock up your Xerath, deal with it. But I guess Sejuani just locks up more and from a safer range.
They don't stand there and be a presence and soak damage as long. The thing is, because as a backliner, you need to get through that front line before you can start dealing damage to it. And if the team collapses around you, and kind of the way I like to think about it is kind of a point, an arrow, going into the middle of a team, and you just have the front line, spread them out, and as soon as that person's front line kind of collapses to the sides of the arrow, it allows your backline to close that distance and go for their backline directly. And sometimes you can ignore the enemy front line because they're trying to peel off the person who's diving.
Yeah, actually, I got to see, I rewatched one of the games. It was Jin versus SKT from about a week ago. And basically SKT, because they had, like, Vlad Sejuani, who could, like, freely get to the back line without being afraid, the entire other team had to, like, react to the Vlad the Hecarim and just, like, try to peel off these beefy tanks who were killing the AD carries anyway. And Jin really couldn't do anything about that. It was pretty fun to see. So yeah, kind of getting in there off the arrowhead and being able to just push through definitely can be very effective here. Fusion are going to be starting out with normal lanes. Looks like the same for TDK. TDK, though, are going to be doing Gromp for themselves.
They actually didn't get any lane swaps here, and here's the thing is, TDK get to start with an experience advantage in this bottom lane off of the Gromp, and now the hard shove comes out. They tried to freeze this as well on Fusion's side, but nobody got those deep wards for a lane swap. It was battle lines coming out from both teams.
Anyway, either way, Fusion gonna be, yeah, they will hit level 2 second. They don't push the wave very fast either, so it'll be very easy for TDK to get their level 2 in this lane matchup and be happy. Nintendo,
they're actually shoving pretty hard. They're actually going to hit it about the same time.
Only just now they got it. Yep. Okay. Yeah, TDK was already 2, but the minion wave was a bit smaller, so they weren't really willing to go in there.
Yeah. Well, you can see right there that they were actually about 2 or 3 minions ahead on Fusion side. So level 2s came out for the AD carries around the same time. Yeah. Because of the fact that TDK did the Gromp start, right?
Yep. Gotta look at the rest of these matchups, though. Seraph already starting out very well against Chunky Fresh. Rumble did partially leash for Nintendo, but not for that long. Seraph, though, with a push lead, getting a lot of CS, pretty uncontested as well. It's pretty easy to regen up his Mundo here in this matchup, and he won't be getting harassed for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, and it's funny, too, because Seraph plays this Mundo kind of as a carry top laner. You think of him as a huge tank, but he likes to just run at the AD carries and try to kill them with his increased damage from Masochism.
Yeah. Difficulty being, though, it depends what kind of AD carry you are. If you're behind his Graves, you don't do anything. If you're no crit Callista, you don't do anything either. But a Jinx with an Urgot Armor Shred, like, I generally think, and I said it in Champ Select, I feel pretty confident that the back line of Fusion is going to be able to deal with Mundo. The question is, though, what supplementary damage comes out?
Exactly.
Because when Annie drops a Tibbers on you, and Rek'Sai shows up, Mundo shows up, Xerath just gets to help. Just gets to press R and you lose health anyway. So there's always that sliding scale of how much damage you can lose.
The way I'm predicting these fights to go is TDK are going to try to poke Ezreal, Xerath before they engage, soften up the opponents, and when they see the opportunity, it's the engage from Smoothie with the follow-up from Kez and Seraph, possibly TP flanking. And Fusion, they want to start the fight fast. They want to see as soon as they see the opportunity, they're going to take it to engage because you don't want to get softened up from TDK's comp.
Absolutely agree. And we'll see how much softening can happen, though. Fusion playing plenty of armored champions there. Urgot, Battle Cast skin. Not too soft himself. We'll see how the rest of it goes. Actually, pretty well-armored team overall, right? Sejuani, Rumble, yeah. Leona.
Yeah.
Neonton's skimping, but it's okay.
Hey, sometimes when female characters wear less armor, they actually have higher defense.
That's how that works sometimes, oddly enough.
Video games.
Video game logic, guys. Kez, though, wearing plenty of chitin to keep himself safe.
I mean, Junkie Fresh saw him enter here through those wards they have placed.
Question is, how long will he wait? Because Kez can get away like with just recalling really safely and cleanly.
And he's going to walk towards the Scuddler.
Oh. Kez is like, oh, darn it, it's a speed shrine.
Yep. That decreased range. So you can actually still, on 5-6, you can get around it from the ramp. But you can't go through it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So you can sneak in basically from top lane to blue buff.
Yep.
Or bot lane to blue buff on the other side of the map. But that's the only route that's actually unnoticed.
Speaking of bot lane to blue buff.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo saw basically Kez on that side of the map. Kez actually sticks out somewhat. Nintendo already smited, so he gets the wolf spirit, but Kez chasing him out, has smite himself for the wolf when he wants it. And they will not chase Nintendo in as the Fusion bot lane pushed enough that the dual lane couldn't help.
I'm very surprised that Kyle has not taken a lot of damage in this matchup. He's sacrificing CS to Urgot and Huhi to make sure that he doesn't eat these Noxian corrosive charges and the Acid Hunter follow-ups. Yeah,
very impressive stuff overall, I got to agree. Every time that cooldown seems to be up, you're seeing very smart play by Kyle to stay safe. And any harass that does come down, though, Huhi, with the Flask start, really not taking any damage here. At least any meaningful damage that sticks. So, yeah. Happy thing for Fusion in the mid lane. Overall, the game sits at a very slight CS lead thanks to their mid and bottom lane here, actually.
But this is what to expect with the CS differential at 10, right? Fusion usually, even when they go 2-on-2 and don't lane swap, they usually have a CS advantage over their opponents. The thing is, transitioning that has always been a difficulty for Fusion. They get it to the late game, their team fights are good, but they struggle with closing the game out sometimes. So in the playoffs, if you want to make it as far as possible, closing out games is what you have to do. You have to win at least 6 games.
That's true. You got to do a good job for this one. We'll see what these teams can do. Now, Fusion, they got
4. Huh? 4 games.
Yeah, 4 games.
I was like, it's not best of 5s, it's best of 3s.
Yeah, either way, you got to win enough games to go in, and if you can only win a couple, then you go to the promotion tournament, and you got to win a BO5 there. So
you got to watch the scaling too of the enemy team, especially when you're put on a timer. So Fusion like late game comps because it allows them to, if they struggle at closing out the game, they at least are still scaling.
Yeah, they'll always be able to win a team fight later on in the game, and that's a nice thing to fall back on, is that you just don't feel pressure to make plays. And of course, sometimes you can feel pressure from your opponents, but so far, Kez in the fighter jungler, Nintendo on the tank, Nintendo hasn't felt pressured all game. It's been a really safe road for Sejuani. He's level 5, not far from getting the ulti.
Yeah, as soon as you get that Bammy Cinder, or the Bammy Cinder pronunciation, still in the works, either or. The thing is once you get that item on Sejuani, she actually becomes a bit of a duelist in the jungle. You can't really bully her out as easily as you used to in the past. Her weakness is kind of covered by that.
Yeah.
She gets good damage output, significant damage output when you are in base contact with her.
Yeah, and basically the first 2 clears getting a little bit easier helps that quite a bit as well. Even goes for Rangel's Trailblazers to make that one even easier, and Nintendo's got to feel plenty happy. Finishes the Cinderhulk 8 minutes in. Not a bad clip, I gotta say. He gets the blue buff without any problems at all. And Nintendo, he's 6. He's got a Cinderhulk. He's got mana. I'm gonna see him gank.
It's actually a very interesting thing in this bottom lane with the first purchases. Because you have the Manamune coming in, you have the tier from Louis GG as an 80 carry Ezreal.
Yeah.
Usually you'll see the Trinity Force first item. Because the build-up to it is safer in lane than a tier.
It is a little bit, but basically, I find...
But you have to buy a tier now if you're going to buy it.
Yeah, you got to buy tier first, you're going to buy it at all. And you actually really want to make sure you can back for tier and pickaxe, and thankfully he had enough farm, even though he was down a little bit, that he got to basically use the BF sword recall timing to get
Smoothie 6.
Tier pickaxe. Yeah, there's kill pressure, but it's going. Smoothie going under Neonton's half health. Ezreal comes by, but flashed by Nian, and out goes the team.
Both junglers are here.
Great flash in, the counter engage, first blood goes to Louis GG, but the counter engage gets Nian one back. He's got a red buff here. Ulti comes in, but they don't keep chasing. Fusion on a mixed call there.
Both TPs used, both junglers present, and it's a 1-for-1 kill, but first blood does go over to the Ezreal. So Louis GG, he's going to have some help in this laning phase. He struggled in the past in the lane, but the level 6 power spike came out, and they immediately pressed it. Trance did not have ulti just yet.
Ouch. Yeah, really good recalls then, and good play by TDK to get those levels in. The Gromp actually paying off a little bit in that case, since there was more total experience the team was able to acquire in that lane. And a very, very well played situation. The end of that point earlier about Manamune is you're only down 25 AD. It's not a very big deal. Oh, man. And once you finish Manamune, you're actually pretty much on parity.
Yeah, exactly. Because as soon as he gets that bonus AD from having the mana and the passive of it. This is actually very interesting. As soon as Kyle gets hit with a Noxian Corrosive Charge, if he doesn't dodge it, he throws the E out. It's a very immobile Urgot.
True.
And it's very easy to land that skill shot. But it looks like Dragon here for TDK.
Oh, nicely played there. The bot lane forced to get away, and looks like everyone else felt safe. Seraph stayed down there, whereas Chunky Fresh went top. So TDK, they sacrificed a lot of farm on Seraph to secure Dragon #1. Now he's going to have to recall and make his way back to the lane, but he's going to sacrifice a couple of waves to do that.
And you can see here, it just hit 10 minutes. CS at 10, very heavily in who he's favored. 93, 94 CS, 10.5 minutes in on that Urgot. It's very close to almost perfect CS.
Yeah, it's really impressive stuff overall by him, especially considering he had to recall at least once to get the Manamune himself. Who he's got to feel pretty good about this one. Neon Tanso sitting on a red buff, and Zerk Greaves is pretty cool as well. He can start abusing that range advantage, being Jinx, having 4 points in switcheroo with that.
There's more presence here for Nintendude in the game at the moment, because Kez, he gets a Sight Stone before completing his jungle item. That's how much he prioritizes vision, but it's not going to help him in a 3-on-3 in this bottom lane.
And it's not unless they can sneak a ward down. LuiGG could always just toss a random Q out there.
Trance has the ulti now. He's, oh!
Two-man stun, they catch Smoothie as well. Ulti traded back in, but the first kill picked up cleanly. Kez now under his turret, forced around. Ulti gets some. Neon Tanso 2-0-1. This is going to be a turret.
Immediately, the ultis from Nintendo this game have been on point, throwing them at a cluster of people so it explodes and gets multiple. That immediately swings the game in their favor by 2K, picking up the turret off the back of it.
Absolutely massive performance there. Good stuff there. Nintendo, we talked about it last time he played Sejuani about 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And it said, like, every time his ult was up, he seemed to be in a lane ready to gank. He says, let's do it in the bot lane. Their flashes are down. Louis had a good reaction to E out, but he lived, to be fair, but Smoothie, no such luck.
Yeah, and this is the thing, too, is they ganked bottom, he blew the ultimate, he got flashes previously, so he knows that they can't be up yet. He has those timers, immediately, return gank. TDK had a little bit of a false sense of security because they had done Dragon and placed so many wards around that area. Kez was off on the wings and saw them pushing. He was ready for the counter engage, but it looked like he was just trying to bait instead of thinking that Nintendo was actually there already.
Yeah, really, really great stuff then. So Team Fusion, their early game lead, they don't have to lane swap. They can go straight 2-on-2, and they win that dual lane really cleanly. Giant amount of items on Neon Tanso, and they trade him to the top lane here. Just
They're sneaking in.
Knock down turrets and maybe get a kill.
They're trying to sneak their bottom lane into this top lane. They'll give up some free farm to LuiGG, but as soon as they push this turret, they're all going to come out of the bush and start getting turret damage, just so it's a very, very quick push. And you're going to see it right here. They show themselves. Nintendo is here as well. It's a 4-on-3.
They're going to try, but Kez is here. The ulti comes down. The Ignite is what do they have? The burst required. The answer, not quite yes, but Kez unfortunately shows up and dies for the sin of doing so. 4 people still top lane. It's going to be a low health turret, but beware as TDK are still chasing in.
Nintendo just got ulti back up.
And they had to flash away from Kyle all the same, though. They get Kez. They traded Trance for it.
Down bottom, though, we do see LuiGG has been pushing this turret. He's going to get that counter turret kill and get that gold a little bit closer. Only 700 gold behind. It's a very intense game. Both these teams, you can see why they're seed 2 and 3.
Dude, I'm so impressed by TDK, though. The fact that they read that top lane move. Louis was just soloing bot lane with not a care in the world, hard pushing it. He actually ulted like 3 waves ago just to shove down harder. Smoothie and Kez were already on the way up. Kyle got the push lead, showed up top lane as well. TDK was ready for that, essentially. And yes, okay, Kez did die, but they traded 1 for 1 and traded turrets as well.
And Kez getting picked on this game a little bit.
Yeah.
You can see the jungle difference there. 100% kill participation for Nintendo.
Same for Kez.
100% kill participation, but he's 3 of their 4 deaths.
Yeah.
Lucky thing, though, is he's the jungler, so he's not missing out on too much CS when he's off the board.
That's true. You can clear your jungle back up, and, you know, Rek'Sai, a pretty fast clear all the same. TDK is still keeping up pretty good wards. You can see Trance and Neon Tanso say, oh, there is a ward there. But you can see the Fusion playstyle. They keep playing around Neon Tanso. They camp bot lane with Nintendo. got a couple of kills. Send him top lane. Knock the turret down there as well. Immediately sends him mid lane, tries to push down a Xerath, but without Nintendo dude and Chunky Fresh making that dive work, which I guess they're doing now, they can't stop the Xerath wave clear.
So it's really futile to be in this position. So now they have to start getting into the jungle. But actually, that turret is very close to going down. It's been poked down slowly but surely by Huhi just having pressure in this lane as Urgot.
Every time Kyle roams, it's actually a large reason why. So we're going to see if they can do that one more time. A quick recall for Kyle, get some Sword Shoes and Umbrella Namicon. Seraph was already sent mid to get the wave pushed out first so that they weren't under pressure. Looks like Kyle does that pretty well. And of course, Seraph helps make sure that's the case. Once again, we just watched Nien Tanso. Anytime you watch Fusion, you can pretty much just like auto-follow in the end. It's probably where all the objectives are going.
Nien is Fusion.
Pretty much.
And I do want to talk about this. Nien has been in the Challenger Series since the expansion tournament.
Yeah.
He had an amazing performance at expansion, and a lot of people were talking about how he showed that he is up there in caliber as an AD carry. Mm-hmm. He is the best teamfight positioning AD carry in Challenger scene at the moment, and that's his big strength, is that he gets the team behind him and they supplement that. They cover his weaknesses of the lane, and then they help strengthen and showcase where he's a good player, where he is the best player at a certain strength in the Challenger Series.
Yeah, it's very impressive seeing him do it. Good job there. Securing their own blue buff for TDK was nearly a steal, but that gives time for Huhi to push down mid. 3 turrets to 1 now. Fusion sit on a 2,000 gold lead thanks to their destruction. Dragon is up as well, but Scuttler's been killed. Fresh blue to Kyle. Could be hard for TDK to stop this. An early ult. Like,
really
I don't know why.
It just spawned.
He wants to aggro Fusion and have it deal damage. Make them fight for it here.
TP.
And who's going to win this battle, though? They jump right on it. Kyle, flop him in. And the poker has been poked out. Kez, very low as well, gets exploded. 3 for nothing on this fight. Not the kind of battle TDK wanted.
That TP immediately told them where he was coming in, but they had focus on Kyle. They got in there, they got the ward coverage, and they immediately collapsed. I said at the start, they has to watch for the swap. You always have to respect the flash swap from Urgot, and it came in right onto that priority target. You can't cleanse that. It's a suppression.
Yep. Got suppressed pretty hard. You could see Kyle brought cleanse because he was afraid of Sejuani. Nintendo didn't even ult in that fight. They didn't need it. Big slow coming out from Rumble. You'd have to flash away from that one. Good plays. Fusion, they don't chase anymore. It's still early in the game. 17 minutes in. Nothing else to push for the first little after that battle. Get there on Dragon. They get a 3-kill lead, but that's all.
Fusion have just been picking up these team fight kills. The thing that TDK needs to do is soften them up when they group up in Siege. But it's getting to the point where Fusion just have so much engage power with the Sejuani, with the Leona. You have to dodge so much and position so that you can clear waves, but not get engaged on. And it's very difficult to do, even with a Zirene.
It really is, but you can see the Siege attempt there. Ulti brings Nien very low, and that's the power. When Fusion does things right, you see 3 people die right away. When TDK does things right, you see 3 people go down to half health and recall and get the turret away. And this is TDK trying to play their style here. Off of the only partial recall, really, of Fusion. They've not been able to buy everything they wanted to. Urgot and Jinx stuck back in the base. Rumble pops ulti to wave clear, and it actually buys them enough time to recall back. Great choice by Chunky Fresh.
Yeah, they knew that was coming. Nintendo and Nien were poked out and had to back. This fight, though, they already have the wards. Huhi's off on the side. There's not enough appropriate coverage here. And man, he gets him as he flashes, too.
Wow. Nothing to do about that one. Quick cleanup, and of course, the rest of the team is just on top of Equalizer. I'm actually a little bit surprised TDK was willing to battle once that Equalizer dropped down. I think they could have...
They're also split at the start.
Salvaged 1 or 2 of those deaths.
Yeah. They're split at the start, and Fusion immediately just wanted to go after one side, land the Equalizer, and rush it, and it worked out for them.
Good things, of course. When you're the Rumble team, having them engage on you is a good thing to have. They oftentimes run through choke points. You try to post up in the big open areas right in front of them. So they have to funnel in, and that Equalizer was very, very good. Chunky Fresh, his first Rumble of the split, and it's been absolutely great here. Not even pulling any bans. No one really saw this champion coming. He completely hit his pick until now, and he's been really big on it. He took 3 bans.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have guessed.
They're trying to ban out Chunky Fresh, and he's like, I got more. We've had a graphic of his champions to watch.
Yep.
TDK were watching it too. Wasn't even close to being on that. Another person I want to highlight, though, is Huhi. 180 CS, 19 minutes in his Urgot, 36 over his lane opponent, who's a Xerath, who's a safe farmer. That is really big. That just shows how much pressure the Urgot pick has and how much it has in Huhi's hands.
Yeah.
Who even got to Kyle and gave him that first step.
Right, and how many games does a Xerath's turret die before his lane opponent? But that's the case right here. Great stuff overall. And oddly enough, you know, we talked about it in the pregame, the opposite here, but Luigi G is actually the best performing player on his team.
He's going
got
for,
the most
going
CS.
for Iceborne.
Yeah, it's appealing.
It's a full blue build Ezreal.
He needs to slow the enemy team. I think it's the right choice to the poke comp. I think you should run this.
Yeah. He's not going for the Trinity Force. He doesn't want that damage. He's going for the kiting ability to keep them at arm's reach.
Yeah. Well, Seraph getting poked around a little bit there. Warmog's first for him, so very region-heavy build for Seraph. Warmog's plus Spectre's Cowl. He's going to want the Visage, but he's going to need a Thornbow before too long as well. Otherwise, Neon Tots is going to chop him up in team fights. Seraph, though, otherwise unkilled. Still a lot of room to grow for Fusion. Not Fusion, rather, but TDK. I think they still need a lot of time to get some core items in. They finished Iceborne Gauntlet, have finished Void Staff or Death Cap for Kyle. Really important stuff still to go.
Now there's multiple lanes being pressured right now from Fusion. They're doing the ritual of putting down wards between two turrets so you can go between both of them as tier 2s and try to out-rotate your opponent. Try to get there and migrate before they do.
You're just seeing, though, the TDK wave clear is so strong. It's one of the nice side benefits of a poke comp is, I think a lot of times we talk about poke comps and we say, oh, you know, they're really good when they're ahead, but they don't do well when you're behind, because we used to talk about Nidalee a whole lot. Well, the poke champions here from TDK are all AoE poke champions, right? Ezreal Ultimate, Xerath Q, even Rek'Sai Burrowed Q. The wave clear is real good from TDK. Yeah. And the diving is not that strong. Nintendo has no armor items that isn't a Ninja Tabby right here. So diving not easy. You're going to see minions get wave cleared. Ooh, Trance, got to be careful. Dodges. Gonna survive. Iceborne, sorry, the ulti from Sejuani used to disengage. You can see how scary TDK can get.
Yeah, they put a lot into that bottom lane, but you can see Huhi immediately pushes up, tries to just chip away at this turret. He's already half done with it. If they just keep going back and forth, that turret will be down by 24 minutes. That's
true. I mean, progress is getting made here by Fusion. They're taking just the right risks here. Smoothie did not find a flash engage to keep them locked down a little bit longer, but anti-timbers into a Xerath Ezreal burst is going to bring most champions close to dead here. And TDK off forcing those recalls are going to try once again. He ults for wave clear. Doesn't get much for it.
It's chunky.
Look how afraid Luigi G was, though. Could have gotten a couple more auto attacks down. Even empowered by Iceborne Gauntlet, they do bonus damage. But not quite going to knock that one down here. The only turret kill TDK got was a trade for when Fusion sent everyone top lane here.
Very close to having that Mana Mune turn into a Muramana and get that spike around 24 minutes for Luigi G. Then he can start doing some significant damage when he pokes people. Right now, without the Trinity Force and the Muramana completed, he's kind of just a CDR. He has to hit multiple ones back-to-back, multiple Qs. He's a kite bot.
He is. But as he gets the, I hope, Last Whisper next, actually. Well, I mean, both are good, actually. Bloodthirst is okay too, but Last Whisper will come online sooner and will do more total damage per shot.
It'll be Blade of the Ruin King.
that one's actually also okay since he's dealing with two kind of tanks here, but as far as common builds, I just tend to see BT and Last Whisper be more common. But yeah, you know, TDK is going to keep growing, and like every single item these guys get is a very big power spike, right? Ezreal gets Armored Pen. The Xerath's going to get a Death Cap or a Void Staff. He's actually still waiting on that, sitting on 1,400 gold, still slowly farming up. That's, you know, Void Staff he's got money for right now. Death Cap's still 1,000 away, but like those are really big power spikes as well. Like really big champion comes online type power spikes. Like Rumble's already there, Sejuani's already there. Honestly, Huhi's Urgot's already there as well, right? So like, really time is only a better thing for TDK, which is weird because like, Jinx is here and Jinx is scary and all that stuff, but there's just so much more TDK needs.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the
Jinx scales, but Fusion spikes earlier, is what it comes down to.
They spike and then they kind of level off, is what you're saying?
Except for Jinx.
Okay.
Right,
yeah,
like
the Urgot.
Like, Urgot's Urgot. Rumble's Rumble, like, done.
Yeah.
They don't get really scarier compared to composition.
Urgot just gets a little tankier, right? He'll get the CDR, and then he'll get more Qs off. That's about it. And then he gets moderately tanky. He becomes this threat that's kind of hard to peel. Like, Urgot's a little bit of a different beast than he was before. But he doesn't have, like, hyper skill.
He does get tankier, and that doesn't matter. Although, I think skilling notwithstanding, I think that's not the most necessarily important topic for right now. It's Fusion, though, still trying to play the aggression because they are up 4,000 gold. Nope. That's the second try. I mean, you're seeing the CDR build working quite nicely, 25 CDR in items. You get a lot of ults for LuiGG, just not quite stealing here.
Fusion are seen right here, but they're trying to choke out the jungle. They don't realize they're from TDK.
Trance is like, yo, guys, I'm going to trap you.
He looked like he was alone.
No one stands there for no reason.
Yeah.
Fusion try again, though.
Try it again.
This time they have the ward control, though. Trance actually is sitting outside the brush to look for other stun targets. Nice Q right there. You can see pressure not applied very fast by Fusion. The Death Brush not going to work here.
It's good to see, though, because Fusion, like we said before, they struggle with closing games out when they have an advantage. And closing out in a timely fashion, because, like you said, spikes are an important thing. If your comp levels off and doesn't scale too much more and you rely on the team fights, you need to close the game out during those spikes. And seeing them try to Death Brush and trying to force something that's going to give them an even larger advantage is good to see. It seems like a healthy direction for Fusion. Right now, though, TDK are not going to fall for those types of moves. They're going to try to poke you. They're going to try to go after lanes because they still have a lot of things to take. They only have one turret. They're not going to check that bush if they can just shove down middle.
That's true, but we've seen that their siege, it got them into a little bit of trouble last time. You saw that bot lane fight was a little scary. Fusion had to get away. He did get away cleanly. Now, we've had such a lull for so long that every ulti and every summoner spell is available right now. Fusion, so far with their lead, have been playing the Dragon game nicely. They got 2 in a row. The various tier 2 turrets have been getting injured as well. They get their second blue buff steal in a row as well. That's how long Fusion have been in control that they've gotten. Actually, no, the prior one did go to Kyle, I think, but it was contested. I don't remember anymore. But either way, Fusion really starting to take control of the jungle. They got the red buff and the blue buff from the enemy jungle. They got the last 2 dragons. They still have yet to sacrifice more than 1 turret. Okay. The question is, what does Fusion do with their advantages, essentially?
Well, they don't have the wards up on TDK's side just yet. TDK's a little bit blind around the map inside their own jungle on both the north and the east side. So right now, Fusion actually has priority in those areas.
Yeah, and of course with Fusion having engage power, TDK with their primarily squishy lineup, it's very hard for them to get around the map and not get punished for it. Big item power spikes come in though. Death Cav just completed for Kyle. Last Whisper just done for LuiGG. Dragon's up in I think 2.5.
Yep. And
that could be a very important fight as Fusion continues to try to take ward control over. TDK have to realistically respect a Baron attempt. Thankfully for TDK, they've got the items to fight, I think.
Yeah, Muramana completion has come online for Huhi and LuiGG. So this Ezreal is going to be doing some decent damage. No hyper carry.
No.
But they need to get their poke on at turrets. At these objectives, this Baron seems like a more real possibility for Fusion and baiting it. But look at this poke. He's going to hit Niantanso. And Niantanso cannot stay here. They're going to get this turret.
There you go, TDK. They got the item spikes. They waited for it, and LuiGG pops the ulti early just to poke these guys down. DN goes for Bloodthirster third to try to get his health back up when these poke things happen. But no, Fusion are looking for a bit of a flank. They've got Rumble coming down, but he's getting headed off by Annie.
If they get caught out, it's going to spell disaster. Niantanso's not there yet.
And Fusion suddenly have to play a lot more defensively. TDK, they're starting to get pink wards in their own territory. You see one in front of the red buff. You see one near their blue as well. In TDK, since they say, okay, our comp came online, let's start taking map control back. Fusion unable to get more than 3 turrets and 2 dragons from their early lead. You know, I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to hold on to this advantage.
And it's only a 3K difference now. After that turret take, after the wave clear, this next dragon is going to give the movement speed to Fusion, and the movement speed cannot be overstated, especially right now, because you're trying to crack these tier 2s. Getting between them faster than the enemy team is extremely important, and that's how you start getting even more gold and actually start building an advantage, because TDK, honestly, they're still very, very much in this with this composition. Yeah. And here's the thing too, is LuiGG, we've talked about his season. It hasn't been the most stellar season for him, debut as well. But the fact that this comp relies on his Ezreal poke.
Yeah.
The consistency of his skill shots and landing them. He's been getting true shot barrages on good targets to force them back. So the fact that this person who hasn't been performing too much on this team is now a big focus on it is a huge thing for TDK. If he becomes very reliable, it's going to be very scary for Fusion in this best of 3.
Yeah, if Louis GG starts really kind of playing amazingly, TDK becomes an even scarier team. Yeah, mid
Trance is flanking.
Okay, who's going to get this fight? Seraph, TP comes in on the targeted minion here, but TDK has to run to the left-hand side. Nintendo does not find the engage just yet. Kez and Seraph split off by themselves. Ulti into the back line, but Smoothie goes in as well. Who's going to be taking the damage? Kez gets chopped down, and a great equalizer comes through. Seraph down the back line. Smoothie getting burned alive. He's going to go down. 2 kills in so far. Seraph, will it be a third? The answer is yes. Luigi D now forced to run away with Iceborne Gauntlet, but the flash swap comes in. 4 kills picked up. Fusion with a big lead off that fight, and looks like they target Baron.
And a big misplay from TDK. You set yourself up to be flanked by the team fight comp as a poke comp. They're going to get Baron off of this.
And Trance finds Kyle Sodas, who he should be a quick kill onto the Xerath. And that is an ace kill credit going over to Trance. 30-minute Baron. Fusion find the team fight they were looking for the last 10 minutes.
And they find a handful of tools to help them get more turrets to start closing out the game, because they've meandered around. They've gotten 10 more kills than their opponent, but they haven't given any up. They've given up small objectives. And this fight, perfect collapse by Fusion. Nintendo ultis the back line. Smoothie ultis the enemy back line on Fusion, but there's no damage follow-up because Kyle and GG are stunned.
Yeah. That's the big thing as well, is just sort of considering the various classes of the champions being picked up, fighter jungler is going to have a much harder time in general team fights. Like, you can see what Sejuani was able to do that Kez on Rek'Sai was not. And I mean, just a very, very good team fight by Fusion. Now with Baron buff on for the next 2 minutes or so, the melee minions getting, I think it's 75% damage reduction, will be from champion specifically, will be hard for TDK to clear away, and it means that Nian Tanso in that rocket form can keep chunking these turrets down.
And you were talking about the fighter jungler of Rek'Sai not doing too much. It's a little bit that he's behind, but also Rek'Sai in the current meta is an early game facilitator of lanes. You have to gank your lanes early on to give them advantages, and Kez went for the early sight zone, prioritized vision, and Nintendo got 6, wasn't harassed in his jungle, shows up to lane on cooldown of his ultimate every time to affect it and give Nian Tanso the core point. Oh, speaking of ultis.
Well cleansed for Kyle, but the damage still coming through. The backline fight comes in and Smoothie gets dropped down. Seraph can regen, but so what? There's no damage left on the roster. Maybe not though. Trance forced to dodge, gets away from all of them. It's going to be a living Leona here as the second wave minions come on in, and TDK forced to just play wave clear. Yeah,
TDK, after experiencing this game and the way it's been going, I have to think that next game, they're not going to throw 3 bans at Chunky Fresh.
There's no reason to. He's 4-0-4. He's one of the best performers on the team here.
You got to ban Sejuani, and especially the fact that you are red side every game for TDK.
Yeah.
They're going to first pick it every game.
Right, he can get whatever he wanted here. Yeah, so I think Sejuani ban, you're absolutely right. And I think Fusion should literally first pick that no matter what is left on the table. That is the #1 champion for them, I believe.
Nintendo went on LOL Esports and gave a quote on an article about how good Sejuani was.
Right. He's like professing to the world. Like it's like amazing before Season 4, saying, guys, here's my champion pool.
Yeah.
Nintendo's like, guys, here's in my opinion the best jungler in the game. You think he's not going to first pick that?
Man, you cray. He always going to pick that one.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Yeah, always going to pick it.
Okay. I wasn't a fan of Cray. I think that's just, it's just not, yeah, that's fine. I'll give it to you.
Why not?
I don't know.
Why aren't you a fan of Cray? Anyway, being Cray, speaking of that.
Yeah, who he?
3 levels up. He's 3 levels up over Seraph.
Seraph taking, apparently we can see that Muramana better than Seraph. Bit of a tier pun there. Nope. Top lane going to go down pretty easily. Fusion now just really splitting apart TDK. The 1v2. I don't know who's going to lose this one.
He can win this.
Yeah, he gets the first one. And here comes a rumble. Swaps in Seraph for the extra stats. Why the heck not? When's the equalizer coming down? Do you need it? I guess you can. Seraph going to fall for this, and 2 more kills come in. And it's going to be maybe game very soon here. Dragon 3 still on the board. Number 4 in a minute and a half, but there's still time to push things in. Bottom lane and him about to be under pressure. Top lane already getting hit pretty hard.
There's this huge level advantages, not just gold, level advantages for Fusion. They've hit level 3 ultimates on multiple champions, and TDK don't have those yet.
A bit of a bad split by Fusion. Trance is like, is Face taking the back line? Ah, flashed away, does not get hit by the ulti, but Trance will die just kind of needlessly here.
Doesn't care.
Gives him the inhib, and by the way, bot lane's getting pushed as well. Chunky Fresh, who he not stopped whatsoever. 2 inhibs down against a poke team. That's rough.
Yep, they're just going to have all these waves crashing into their base. They just have to group up mid as the team fight team and start a fight mid lane. That's all they have to do here from Fusion's side. It's going to be very quick for them to start closing out this game.
It's going to be absolutely, I think, a cakewalk now for Fusion as they go to end this game right here. One last recall. Dragon and 40 if they want to go for it. Why the heck not? But TDK now for the next 4 minutes straight have to sit inside their base and slowly kill down cannon minions. They picked a poke team, which means their sustained DPS actually much lower than conventional team compositions, meaning they're actually even worse than most other teams at killing off super minion waves.
Even just dealing with Fusion's comp too, killing an Urgot, he's going to have that shield back up by the time you get through it. And he's almost full build. He's very close to full build 35 minutes in, and these are not overwhelmingly cheap items either.
No. This is a very rich Fusion roster overall. Question is, they said, you know, they want to work on closing games out. Well, 35 minutes, not a bad scoreline here. Bit of a lull in the mid game, but I can't really blame them against a poke team with wave clear. And they will do Dragon 4 first. Seraph slowed down as ult to check, but who cares? Kez coming in, that's going to be the last fight of the game, potentially. The engage comes off, Kyle stays safe. A lot of burst comes in, but Kez is the first casualty, so down goes Smoothie, and now Seraph buys a lot of time, and the poke from Kyle helping a little bit here.
Yen
tries to get him, who can he hit? The flash engage, Nintendo gets one, Seraph going to be the second casualty. All right, that's going to be a 4 for 1. That's going to be Fusion. Look at the front door of this one. Luigi G just running away.
He's limping away, getting through the gate, clawing his way back to his Nexus turrets, but that's not safety right now, because Fusion are coming for that win.
Nintendo over the wall, big minion wave here as well to push on in. These Nexus turrets, not long for the world. Number 1 goes down, number 2 at the same time, just to the minions. And the Nexus will drop 36.5 minutes in. Fusion are 1 game away from the Challenger Series Finals.
And this is a team that lost an expansion tournament. They were 1 game away from being in the LCS.
That's true.
They went to all 5 games in the expansion tournament, and then when I talked to them, they lost Mac Noon, they got Chunky Fresh, they lost Glebe, they got Trance, and they came together as a team, and they were saying, this is a team that needs to focus up and look at the next split. Yeah. So they stayed together through that with this core roster of theirs, which is great to see, because a lot of people after that type of thing fall out. They don't want to keep going. They want to go do other things, and they were focused and said, we need to practice. We need to work on our roster. And they have such a great support staff, too, to help them learn from their games. And right now, apparently they don't always lose the first game.
Yeah, well, that was the other thought, is you just need a tune-up game to say, how do these guys play? And then put your own spin on things. Looks like Fusion had a fast start. The camping from Nintendo was great. He got 2 successful ganks off in a row that turned into a turret kill. They lane swapped really cleanly, I thought, and knocked down turret after turret, getting kill after kill as well. And they just used the Neon Tonso battering ram, 4-0 and 9. Good score by him. 349 minions, highest in the game as well. No surprise that he did that as well. Highest goal to the game, no surprise here. The tried and true Fusion style. Yep. That was good for them. Their mid-game, I think, was a bit slow to my liking. I'm not sure what they could have done different necessarily, because Xerath and Ezreal do have obviously very good wave clear. Turns out, risk aversion, not horrible for them. Didn't lose much. Only 4 kills all game is pretty darn impressive.
And all 4 kills were on the support, Trance. He's the only person who died on Fusion. Everybody else has a big goose egg, big 0 in that death column.
Yeah, I think 1 or 2 of those were probably unnecessary. I think the one where they dove, like... after
he's just standing there.
He's tanking a Nexus turret, like... they're hitting inhibitor, and he's like, I'm gonna hit this guys.
If they make LCS, don't put Fusion on your fantasy or Trance on your fantasy roster, because he's just gonna feed. He doesn't have to.
He doesn't.
He's just like, I'll give myself over to this turret.
Yeah. Either way, though, I think Fusion looked pretty good here. So let's think about this. We're now in a best-of-3 scenario. So TDK have to win 2 in a row. Now, their actual laning performance was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I was impressed by that.
I was too. Huhi's Urgot outmatched Kyle a little bit. But Seraph did great, and actually he eventually split pushed his own turrets down, so that was cool. He got a kind of individual edge later on in the game against Chunky. Yeah. Luigi G and Smoothie also were very good at the bottom lane. Luigi G ended 2-1-1, one of his best score lines in a loss probably ever in the Challenger Series here. Those were really bright points. Kez, though, third game in a run of fighter jungler, post 5.5. I have not seen him play a tank yet. And if TDK are not going to get early advantages, why play a fighter jungler? Yeah. Especially someone like Rek'Sai who doesn't have a late.
I was really confused because Nidalee was up and he had fantastic Nidalee performances that baffled me because he's just like, he loves vision control, and instead of getting a sight stone, he just places traps everywhere and he bullies the enemy jungler, which is Kez doesn't have that type of style unless he's on Nidalee. So it opens up a play pattern for them that punishes tank junglers, which you have to get them levels 1 through 5 in their own jungle and bully them around. And Nidalee's the perfect pick for that.
Yeah.
And I do want to speculate a little bit about picks and bans. I think Sejuani's not going to make it through. I think you have to ban that as TDK. And I think the Urgot was something they don't know how to deal with yet. So it's another thing you have to ban out.
Yeah. I think another thing as well that's going to come in here is a focus on Irelia. I do not want to see TDK ban it because Seraph plays it well. I trust Seraph to do well in lane against Chunky Fresh overall. And then you can create a situation where, hey, Chunky Fresh, first pick the Irelia, or give that away to something else, right? His Rumble was good enough that first picking that shouldn't even be that big of a deal, but it lets Seraph play something he is good at himself. I think it's a wasted ban and actually a hurtful ban in some situations. We'll see what adaptations come in for Game 2, so as the players ready up for that game, we're going to take a short break. However, when we return, Team Fusion will attempt to reach the Challenger Finals with one more victory against TDK. Don't go anywhere. Two-man stun, they catch Smoothie as well. Ulti traded back in, but the first kill picked up cleanly. Kez now under his turret, forced around. Ulti gets him right on a Kyle, flop him in, and the poker has been poked out. Kez very low as well, gets exploded 3-0 on this fight. Into the back line, but Smoothie goes in as well. Who's going to be taking the damage? Kez gets chopped down, and a great equalizer comes through. Seraph down the back line, Smoothie getting burned alive. Kez coming in, that's going to be the last fight of the game, potentially. The engage comes off, Kyle stays safe. A lot of burst comes in, but Kez is the first casualty.